He refused to kill her in the arena. Alien Gladiator spent the night showing her gratitude. A thunderous wave of 50,000 alien voices shook the amphitheater, the sound ricocheting off the high, arched ceilings and vibrating through Marcus Dre's chest. The air crackled with anticipation and the sharp metallic scent of ozone. Under the blood-red arena lights, Marcus stood astride his fallen adversary, every muscle trembling from exhaustion and adrenaline. The ceremonial spear, its shaft nicked and pitted, trembled in his battered hands. At his feet sprawled Lyra of Clan Soren, her lithe feline form tense despite the defeat. Her color-shifting fur, matted with sweat and streaked with arena dust, rippled from midnight blue to deep violet. Her slit-pupilled eyes, fierce and defiant, glared up at him with a pride that refused to yield, even in apparent defeat. All around them, the crowd roared, their voices a tidal wave demanding blood. "Kill! Kill!" The chant rolled like thunder, growing ever louder, more frenzied. In the gilded balcony above, the ruling council of Vera watched, their cloaks catching the light in shimmering waves of gold. Their faces were severe, their eyes cold, as they awaited the final blow that custom demanded. For a heartbeat, Marcus and Lyra locked gazes. In that instant, the noise faded, and only the two of them existed within a fragile bubble of silence. He saw her pain, yes, but beneath it, courage, dignity, and something that resonated with his own battered soul. He thought of all the times he'd been forced to fight for survival, not glory, and he saw the same truth mirrored in her. Marcus's grip on the spear faltered. The weapon suddenly felt unbearably heavy, not just in his hands but in his conscience. He looked down at Lyra, saw her chest heave, her jaw set. She was ready for death, but she did not want it. With a defiant shout, Marcus lifted the spear above his head, not to strike, but to let it fall. He plunged it into the sand at her side, the metal biting deep and standing quivering, a stark refusal. The amphitheater erupted into chaos. Shocked gasps, then outraged screams, rolled over them. The crowd became a sea of waving arms and snarling faces, calling for retribution. Guards poured into the arena, stun batons crackling with pale blue fire. The council members rose, their voices lost in the tumult. Lyra's eyes widened, disbelief flickering over her features, swiftly replaced by a grudging respect. She pushed herself to her feet, glancing at the spear as if it might disappear at any moment. "Are you mad, Terran?" she hissed, her voice low and hoarse. "Move!" Marcus shouted, scanning the arena's rim for an exit. "I'm not letting them kill you for their amusement!" Lyra bared her teeth in a sharp grin, the pride in her eyes returning twofold. "You'll never outrun me, Terran!" With a flick of her tail, she darted forward, quick and silent. The guards charged, their boots hammering the sand, energy batons arcing overhead. Marcus followed Lyra, his battered legs pumping, every joint screaming protest. They dodged wild blasts that scorched the sand in sizzling bursts of light. Lyra vaulted over a toppled column, twisting mid-air with feline grace, while Marcus barreled through, scattering debris in his wake. Ahead, half hidden by shadow, Lyra found a service hatch. Small, battered, barely big enough for a grown man. She yanked it open and disappeared inside, tail flicking. Marcus dove in after her just as a baton struck the metal frame, sending sparks flaring past his ear. They tumbled down a narrow shaft, landing hard on the rough ground beneath the city. The air here was cool and damp, lit by veins of phosphorescent moss that cast everything in an eerie blue-green glow. Marcus staggered to his feet, rubbing his bruised ribs. Lyra was already moving, her ears twitching, every sense alert. The tunnels stretched before them, a twisting maze of rusted pipes and glistening stone. Marcus stumbled over a chunk of rubble, catching himself on a corroded conduit. "Keep up, Terran," Lyra whispered, her impatience softened by a spark of amusement. She touched his arm, her hand warm against his skin, and he felt a nervous thrill at her closeness. They ducked behind a bulkhead as voices echoed distantly. guards searching the tunnels. Pressed together, faces inches apart, Marcus could feel her breath on his cheek. In the dim glow, her eyes searched his. "I saw it," he murmured, voice thick with emotion. "In your eyes. Courage. Dignity. I wasn't about to kill that." Lyra blinked, her expression softening for just a heartbeat before hardening again. "You're a fool," she whispered. "But perhaps a brave one." He nodded. "We're in this together now, aren't we?" Their flight, once a matter of survival, became a pact, an alliance forged in defiance and sealed in the gloom of the underworld. As they pushed deeper into the tunnels, Lyra whispered of the city's shadowy underworld, of fixed matches, corrupt officials, and ancient secrets buried beneath Veyra's shining spires. The darkness grew thicker, the air heavy with the scent of damp stone and old electricity. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from a side passage. Marcus tensed, hand reaching for a weapon he no longer carried, but Lyra held up a hand, listening intently. A low, three-note whistle rang out, a coded signal. Relief flickered across Lyra's face. "Jax," she breathed, hope threading her voice. An old comrade. For the first time since the arena, a fragile hope stirred in the gloom. The rebel hideout was buried deep within the fractured skeleton of what had once been Veyra's merchant quarter. Tangled alleys wound through toppled columns, splintered mosaics, and half-collapsed archways, each turn guarded by battered doors and watchful eyes. Marcus pressed close to Lyra's side as Jax, a gruff Soran veteran with battle scars twisting across his muzzle, led them deeper into the labyrinth, his every step wary. "You're risking more than your own skin bringing a human in here," Jax muttered, his low voice echoing off the broken stone. His tawny fur bristled, and he shot Marcus a look sharp enough to cut. Lyra's tail flicked in defiance. "Marcus spared me. I won't leave him to the Council's hounds. He's earned shelter, and my trust." Jax huffed, but the set of his shoulders softened. "We all earn trust the hard way down here." A rusted door, nearly invisible behind a warped merchant stall, groaned open to reveal the hidden sanctuary. Inside, the air pulsed with tension and the quiet hum of voices. Ex-gladiators milled through the shadowy halls, their bodies bearing the marks of old shackles, fresh bruises, and the hard-won pride of survival. Some stared openly at Marcus, their eyes wary, measuring. Lyra led him past a low fire ringed by hunched figures. "Sit," she ordered, slumping onto a crate. Blood oozed sluggishly from a wound on her arm. Marcus knelt beside her, pulling a strip of cloth from his belt. "Hold still," he said, his voice gentler than he intended. He dabbed the wound clean, the pads of his fingers surprisingly careful for a man of his size. Lyra winced, but didn't pull away. A hush fell as a few rebels watched them. Curious glances flickered between the unlikely pair. Whispers rippled through the hideout, a current of cautious hope threaded with disbelief. In a place built on violence and betrayal, the sight of Marcus tending Lyra, Gladiator and Terran, enemy and ally, hinted at possibilities most had long since abandoned. From the shadows, a lean woman stepped forward, her eyes sharp as broken glass. "They're saying you refused the kill, Terran," she said, voice low. He nodded, tying off the makeshift bandage. "There's been enough blood. I'm done being their entertainment." The woman's mouth twitched. "We could use more of that thinking." She extended a hand. "Mira, council informant. Former, now." Beside her stood Dex, a Soran with a missing ear, and the hard stare of a man who'd once enforced the council's will. "Trouble's coming," he said. "The match was rigged. Council didn't just expect a bloodbath. Someone wagered on both of you surviving." Jax bristled, folding his arms. "And now the council's called out their shock troopers as if an uprising's underway. Never seen them so rattled." Marcus exchanged a look with Lyra. "They're afraid. Why?" Mira's lips tightened. "They're not just afraid for their safety. something deeper. They think their power's at stake. Lyra stared into the fire, her fur shimmering a stormy violet. There are old stories, she said quietly. Legends the elders told when I was a kid. The arena wasn't always a place for games. It was built over ancient ground, sacred. They said its blood fed something beneath. The fire crackled. Silence pressed in, broken only by the distant rumble of the city above. Marcus frowned, mind racing. You're saying the council uses the games as sacrifice? Dex spat on the ground. Every Soren knows blood stains those sands deeper than any council ledger. Mira's gaze sharpened. What if the sacrifices aren't just for spectacle or order? What if they're the reason the councils held power for so long? A chill swept the room, as if the ruins themselves listened. Marcus's memories flickered, rituals before each match, the strange patterns carved into the arena floor, the shuddering in the crowd when a fighter fell. It all slotted together in his mind, dread rising. Lyra's tail curled around her knees. My mother once whispered that the council's power was borrowed, that if the blood stopped, something would wake. Jack slammed a fist on the crate. Then we end it. No more deaths for their games. Marcus nodded, jaw set. We need proof, evidence that can shatter their hold. Mira's voice dropped to a whisper. There's only one place, the council archives. The old ones, before the last purge. They're locked down, abandoned after the last fire. But if the truth is anywhere, it's there. Dex scowled. Getting in won't be easy. Security grids, old traps. Even council enforcers avoid it. Lyra's eyes blazed with purpose. We'll find a way. If the council feeds on this darkness, we'll drag it into the light. Marcus reached for her hand, their fingers brushing. Together. We started this as enemies. Let's finish it as something more. Jax nodded, respect hardening his features. You've got the rebels with you. But move fast. The city's crawling with council hunters. Above, the muffled echo of boots and shouted orders reverberated through the cracked stone, a reminder of the tightening net. Lyra rose, pain etched in her every movement. We need plans, not just hope. Mira, Dex, gather what you know of the archive's defenses. Jax, ready our fastest. We go tonight. Mira nodded, her sharp eyes already calculating. We'll need disguises. The council's eyes are everywhere. Dex pulled a battered map from his coat, unrolling it across the crate. Service tunnels run under the south wall. They say no one's breached them since the council sealed the archives, but I know where the old fuses lie. Marcus studied the map, tracing possible routes with his finger. Lyra leaned in, her fur brushing his arm, her focus absolute. If we find proof, if we show the city what's been hidden, Marcus said, the council's power could crumble. Jax grunted. Or it could unleash whatever's been sleeping under those stones for generations. Either way, better to face the truth than die in ignorance. The rebels gathered around, drawn by the rarest thing in the ruins, a chance. For a moment, hope flared, warming even the coldest corners. Lyra squeezed Marcus's hand, her voice low. Thank you. For seeing me. For this. He managed a faint smile. You're not alone anymore. None of us are. The hideout fell silent as the weight of what they were planning settled in. Above, the hunt for them grew ever more desperate, the council's fury shaking the city to its foundations. They resolved to break into the abandoned council archives, seeking the truth behind the games, the blood, and Lyra's shadowy origins. As the rebels dispersed to prepare, Marcus and Lyra stood together at the edge of the flickering firelight, the future uncertain, but their purpose unbreakable. The archives were a vault of forgotten knowledge, hidden deep beneath the city's marble foundations, where the shadows stretched and flickered against walls inlaid with obsidian and bone. Crystalline memory orbs, each one pulsing with an inner light, floated in ordered arrays along arching shelves that climbed toward a ceiling lost in gloom. The air was thick with the scent of ancient dust and humming circuitry. Every footstep echoed, a reminder that they were intruders in a sanctum meant for no one but the ruling council. Marcus's hands, broad and battered from years of combat, trembled as he fumbled with the alien lock. Sweat beaded along his brow as he tried to force the mechanism open, his efforts clumsy and slow. "Damn thing! Never seen tech like this," he muttered, frustration edging his voice. Lyra crouched beside him, her eyes reflecting the blue luminescence from the orbs above. Her tail flicked with agitation, but her movements were precise, confident. "Step aside, Terran," she said softly, fingers already dancing over the sigils. The lock responded to her touch, unfolding like a metallic blossom. "How did you—" "Instinct," she replied, not meeting his gaze. "Or something older." They slipped inside, footsteps muffled by ancient dust. The Gladiator records occupied the central vault, a labyrinth of plinths, each crowned by an orb swirling with misty light. Lyra led the way, drawn deeper by a sense she could not name. Marcus trailed her, alert to the echoes of distant alarms, a reminder that their time was short. Suddenly, Lyra halted, her breath catching in her throat. Before her, nestled in a cradle of polished stone, was a memory orb etched with an intricate sigil, her clan's ancient crest, silvered and unmistakable. The sight rooted her to the spot. She reached out, paw hovering just above the orb's surface. "This is it," she whispered. "Clan Soren, my family's mark." Marcus stepped closer, concern etched into every line of his face. "What does it mean?" Lyra closed her eyes, drawing strength. She touched the orb. Instantly, images erupted. A procession of Soren elders, regal in their violet and indigo robes. A newborn cub, swaddled in royal cloth, whispered vows of protection, and then fire, chaos, shadows snatching a child away into the night. Her breath shuddered as the visions faded. "It's me. I was hidden after the purges. My parents, they sent me to the slums, disguised as nothing, as no one. I was raised to forget, forced into the arena. My whole life a lie, so the council's assassins wouldn't find me." Marcus's jaw clenched. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "They erased you, made you fight for their amusement. All this, just to protect you?" "Or to test me," Lyra spat, her fur bristling. "Or to make me a sacrifice." Footsteps clattered somewhere above, a sharp metallic sound that sent shivers through the vault. Marcus glanced at the entryway, then back to Lyra, whose eyes were wide and unseeing, still trapped in the revelation. "We have to move," he said, voice urgent. But Lyra seemed unable to respond, frozen in place as though the truth had turned her to stone. The footsteps drew closer. Marcus swept Lyra into his arms, her frame light but tense. He darted through the maze of memory orbs, heart pounding, searching for escape. He found a quiet alcove tucked behind a fallen statue, a place where the sound of pursuit faded, replaced by the steady pulse of Lyra's breathing. He set her down gently. Lyra's claws scraped the floor as she curled into herself, tail lashing in fury. Her voice was raw. "They used me, my blood, my memories, fuel for their rituals, my clan, my parents, they're gone because of the council, and I was just a piece in their game." Marcus knelt before her, his expression fierce. "You're not what they made you. You're not just a name or a crest. You're the one who fought beside me. You made your own choices." She shook her head, eyes glimmering with unshed tears. "Everything I am, everything I've done, was it real? Or just the council's design?" He reached for her hand, fingers threading through her fur. "You chose to spare me. You chose to fight. That's real. You're real." Lyra looked up, anger and sorrow warring in her gaze. "My blood, my heritage, It might be the reason they wanted me in the arena. I could be the key to their rituals. What if I'm nothing more than a tool? Marcus's voice was steady, unwavering. You're more than your past. You're more than their plans. I stand with the warrior who fought at my side, not the lost princess the council tried to bury. A faint, bitter laugh escaped Lyra. A Terran and a Soran heiress, hunted by the council and cursed by history. What a pair we make. He squeezed her hand, warmth radiating between them. I don't care about your bloodline. I care about you. Above, the sound of searching guards grew distant for a moment, long enough for a fragile peace to settle. Lyra's breathing slowed. She turned her hand, grasping his in return, her claws sheathed. Everything has changed, she murmured, her voice softer now. The world I thought I knew, the person I thought I was, it's all gone. Marcus brushed a lock of her fur from her face. Maybe that's not all bad. Maybe now you get to decide who you want to be. Lyra met his gaze, her eyes luminous in the half-light. I don't know what comes next, Marcus. I don't know if I can be the person you see in me. He smiled, gentle and true. You already are. For a long moment, they sat together in the silence, the weight of revelation pressing down, but no longer suffocating. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder, her tail curling around his waist. For the first time since the council's hounds began their chase, she felt something like hope flicker inside her chest. Their bond, forged in blood and defiance, deepened in the shadows of the archive. Lyra let out a shaky breath and spoke, her voice steadying. Maybe some change is for the better. And as the alarms began to rise again, echoing through the ancient halls, they rose together, ready to face whatever darkness waited beyond, side by side. At dawn, a restless hush fell over the rebel hideout as the first rays of golden light filtered through shattered stone and tattered canvas. The rebels gathered in uneasy knots, glancing toward the entrance with a mix of hope and dread. It was there, in the pale glow of morning, that Saressa Soren arrived, her bearing regal, her presence impossible to ignore. Saressa moved like a force of nature, the silver streaks in her midnight fur gleaming. Her cloak, embroidered with the lost sigil of Clan Soren, trailed behind her as she stepped into the heart of the sanctuary. Conversations stilled. Even the most hardened fighters stood a little straighter. Lyra pushed to the front, her jaw tight, eyes wary. She looked smaller than usual, dwarfed by the woman who had once ruled courts and commanded armies. Saressa's gaze swept the room, lingering on Marcus with undisguised skepticism before settling on Lyra. So, the lost cub returns, she intoned, her voice echoing off the ancient walls. Lyra drew herself up. I never left. The council took everything from us. I survived the only way I could. Saressa's lips curled in a grim smile. Survival was not your only purpose. You were hidden for a reason. Your bloodline is the key to Vera's balance. You are the heir of Clan Soren. The clans will rally if you reclaim your birthright. Without you, rebellion is chaos. With you, it becomes destiny. Lyra's fur bristled. You want me to abandon my friends? The ones who risked everything to save me? Saressa glanced at Marcus, her eyes narrowing. Especially that one? A human? Your pet gladiator? A low growl rumbled in Lyra's throat. He is no pet. He is my partner. I will not stand at the head of an army if Marcus is forced to the shadows. He stays with me. Marcus straightened, refusing to flinch under Saressa's scrutiny. I go where Lyra goes. We fight together. The elder Soren's tail lashed in impatience. You would risk the fate of our world for a fleeting romance? Compassion and love may cost you everything. This is not a Terran tale of happy endings. Lyra's eyes burned with defiance. It's not compassion that built your legacy, Saressa. It's loyalty. My loyalty is to those who bled with me in the dust and darkness. I will unite the clans, But I choose how. I choose who stands at my side. For a moment, the two Soren women faced off, pride and rebellion clashing in the narrow space between them. Ceresa's glare softened, a hint of pain flickering across her features. "You are your mother's child," she said finally. "Stubborn and foolish. Very well, lead as you will. But remember, love is a luxury in war, and it will be tested." Lyra nodded, her resolve unbroken. "Then let it be tested." Ceresa inclined her head, conceding the field. She turned to the gathered rebels, her voice carrying. "Prepare yourselves. The Council's army stirs. You have one chance to strike before you are crushed." The tension broke like a wave, sending rebels scurrying for weapons and supplies. In the armory's shadows, Marcus bent over a table strewn with alien blades and battered sidearms. His big hands, calloused from years of war, worked quickly, adapting Soren energy cells to Terran triggers, jury-rigging hybrids from scavenged parts. Dex, the grizzled ex-enforcer, watched from the doorway, arms crossed. "Didn't think a human would know his way around Soren tech." Marcus grinned without looking up. "You learn fast when your life depends on it." A grunt of respect. "You fight well. And you care for her. The others see it." Marcus met Dex's eyes. "I fight for all of us now." As the rebels filtered in and out, Marcus's reputation shifted from outsider to indispensable. Even the most jaded began to nod in his direction, the ice of suspicion melting into acceptance. Meanwhile, Lyra paced the upper walkways, her mind racing. Every step was weighted with the Council's expectations and Ceresa's warnings. She paused, watching Marcus below, his focus intent, his touch gentle even with deadly weapons. For the first time, she allowed herself a moment of longing. She slipped down the stairs, pausing in the gloom of the armory. "Busy?" she teased, her voice low. Marcus looked up, a rare smile easing his hard features. "Always, but I can make time." Lyra stepped closer, her hand brushing his. The chaos around them faded. "You know, Ceresa thinks I'm reckless. Maybe she's right." He set down a half-assembled blaster, turning to face her fully. "She's wrong. You're brave. You lead with your heart." She laughed, the sound soft and unguarded. "That's what terrifies her." He cupped her cheek, thumb tracing the line of her jaw. "It's what draws everyone to you, especially me." Their lips met in a kiss, tentative, then deepening as they clung to each other, stealing a moment of tenderness before the coming storm. In that breathless space, surrounded by the scent of oil and ozone, hope bloomed between them. When they broke apart, Lyra pressed her forehead to his. "Stay with me, whatever happens." "Always," he promised. Outside, the rebel camp buzzed with urgency. Weapons were checked and rechecked, battle plans whispered over flickering holomaps. Ceresa marshaled the clan elders, her commands crisp. Jax and Mira rallied the fighters, their eyes bright with purpose. Above the ruined city, the council's banners unfurled as the first ranks of soldiers assembled. Armored columns bristling with shock troopers, their war machines rumbling through the dawn. The rebels' time was running out. Lyra and Marcus stood before their motley army, ex-gladiators, defected enforcers, outcasts, and dreamers. She raised her voice, steady and resolute. "The Council feeds on our fear and division. Today we fight as one, Soren and Terran, outcast and clanborn. Together, we can reclaim our future." Marcus stepped forward, his presence radiating strength. "Our bond is proof. Unity is possible. No more blood for the Council's games. No more hiding in the shadows. We strike now for all those who have been silenced." The rebels erupted in cheers, hope blazing in their eyes. Across the camp, word spread quickly of the unlikely pair at the rebellion's heart, a Soren heiress and a human gladiator, defying tradition and fate alike. Their partnership became a symbol, a rallying cry among those who had long believed themselves alone. As the final preparations were made, Marcus squeezed Lyra's hand. "We started this together. We end it together." Lyra's answering smile was fierce. "Let them come." The council's army gathered at the city's edge, thunder rolling on the horizon. In the heart of the ruins, Marcus and Lyra stood side by side, ready to lead the charge, their love and unity a beacon in the coming storm. The insurrection erupted at sunrise, flames leaping high into the pearlescent sky as the city shook beneath the rebels' fury. Sirens wailed through the twisting streets, echoing off ancient walls. Marcus ran at the vanguard, his breath sharp and steady, every sense attuned to the chaos around him. At his back, Lyra moved like a shadow, silent, deadly, her eyes glinting with purpose. Together, they were a force none could stand against. He led his strike team through the shattered marketplace, ducking under a rain of stun bolts. "Flank left! Split their line!" Marcus barked. His Terran strategy cut through the Council's predictable pride. The defenders, trained to expect brute force, were unprepared for the rebels' darting hit-and-run attacks. Smoke billowed from the communication towers as Mira's squad planted charges, severing the Council's command network. Dex's team overran the armory, their cheers carried on the morning wind. Lyra slipped through the chaos, taking down guards with a flick of her claws, covering Marcus as he disabled a sentry post. "You think like prey, council dogs," she spat at a cowering officer before knocking him cold. She and Marcus moved as if sharing one mind, their trust and skill making them unstoppable. The council's forces, disoriented and leaderless, fell back, their lines buckling under the rebels' relentless pressure. The air rang with the clash of steel and crackling energy, the city's heart pulsing with the hope of freedom. By midday, smoke curled from the ruins of the council's outposts. The defenders, battered and desperate, retreated behind the towering walls of their fortress, a monolith of black stone crowned by the banners of ancient conquest. The rebels gathered at its base, breathless with victory and fear. Jax pulled Marcus aside, his muzzle flecked with blood. "They'll barricade the main gate and turn the fortress into a tomb. What's the play?" Marcus's eyes narrowed as he scanned the ramparts. "They expect us to storm the front. We need a distraction, something they can't ignore." Lyra stepped forward, her gaze steady. "Let them see me surrender. All their rituals and pride hinge on my blood. They won't risk killing me outright. While they gloat, you slip inside." Ceresa's ears flattened, but she nodded, understanding the risk. "You play a dangerous game, cub. Don't let it be your last." Marcus hesitated, searching Lyra's face. "Are you sure about this?" She brushed his cheek with her clawed hand, the touch gentle, lingering. "I trust you. We are stronger together, even apart." She pulled him down for a kiss. A promise, fierce and desperate, forged in fire and hope. "Come back to me." He squeezed her hand, heart pounding. "I will." Minutes later, the council's sentries watched in astonishment as Lyra strode to the fortress gate, hands raised, chin high. "I am Lyra of Clan Sorin," she declared, her voice ringing across the plaza. "I surrender myself, spare my friends, and face me." The gates yawned open, swallowing her in shadows. Meanwhile, Marcus crept through the refuse-choked alleys, skirting the fortress's edge. He found the waste ducts, a narrow, stinking tunnel snaking beneath the council's walls. With a grimace, he crawled into the darkness, every breath a prayer and a curse. Alarms blared overhead as he emerged inside, pressed against the chill stone of the fortress's lower levels. Inside, the corridors were lined with ceremonial carvings and the acrid stench of ancient blood. Marcus moved quickly, following the sounds of chanting and the cold flare of energy torches. At the heart of the fortress, he found the arena, a smaller replica of the Grand Colosseum, its sands stained black with centuries of sacrifice. As he crept through the shadows, Marcus pieced together the truth. The arena was no mere battleground. It was a blood altar, its geometry designed to focus agony and death. Memory orbs pulsed in the walls, recording pain, amplifying it. Below the dais, a pit seethed with writhing shadows, primordial, hungry. In the council chamber above, robed figures gathered around a circle of runes. Lyra knelt at the center, her wrists bound in silver chains, her head bowed but unbroken. The counselors' voices rose in an incantation, their hands slick with blood. At their feet, a basin overflowed with the lifeblood of the fallen. Marcus listened, horror dawning. "Her blood is the final component," the arch-counselor intoned. "And with it, we cement our rule for all time. Let the power of Soren bind the Ancient One to our will." Marcus's rage burned away his fear. He primed his stolen blaster, eyes locked on Lyra. The guards were focused on the ritual, their backs exposed. With a roar, Marcus burst from the shadows, blaster spitting fire. 2 counselors fell before the rest could even turn. "Lyra, down!" he shouted. She twisted, rolling beneath the executioner's blade as Marcus's shots shattered her chains. The chamber erupted into chaos, rebels pouring through the breach as Mira and Jax fought their way inside, weapons blazing. The council's defenses collapsed. Lyra surged to her feet, slashing with claws and fury. Marcus fought at her side, his every movement a shield for her. They moved in perfect synchrony, each trusting the other with their lives. But the arch-counselor, desperate, lunged at Lyra with a hidden blade, his eyes wild. Marcus saw the strike coming, too fast, too close. He hurled himself between them, the blade plunging deep into his side. He gasped, knees buckling as pain exploded through him. "Marcus!" Lyra screamed, catching him as he fell. Blood blossomed on his shirt, staining her fur. He managed a weak smile. "Told you. I'd come back." Lyra's grief ignited into wrath. With a feral roar, she tore through the counselors, her claws and courage unstoppable. The ancient runes shattered beneath her blows, the ritual dissolving into chaos. The shadows in the pit recoiled, the council's power broken. The rebels surged forward, overwhelming the last of the defenders. The fortress, once the heart of tyranny, fell at last. The banners of the council tumbled from the ramparts, trampled beneath the feet of the newly free. In the shattered remains of the council chamber, Lyra cradled Marcus in her arms, tears streaking her cheeks, staining her violet fur. Around them, the revolutionaries cheered their victory, but her world narrowed to the man who had saved her at the cost of his own life. "Stay with me," she whispered, clutching him fiercely as dawn's light spilled through the ruined windows. "Please, stay." The fortress had fallen, and the council's reign was shattered, but in that moment, all that mattered was the bond forged in struggle, sacrifice, and love. Months later, Marcus stood atop the highest tier of the great arena, the morning sun painting the city of Vera in hues of gold and rose. The scars of war remained etched into stone and memory, collapsed spires, walls scorched by fire, banners still fluttering above battered rooftops. But there was movement and laughter in the streets below, a current of hope that had not existed before. He leaned against the cold marble balustrade, one hand absently rubbing his side where the blade had nearly ended him. He had healed, but the wound remained, a jagged, aching reminder of the fight and the choices that had brought him here. The skin puckered beneath his shirt, a testament to what he had lost and what he had found. Below, the arena's floor was a garden now. Vines climbed over ancient bloodstains, and the laughter of children echoed in spaces once filled with screams. No more games, no more sacrifices. Former fighters, Soren and Terran alike, patrolled the city as peacekeepers, their presence a living reminder that unity was possible. The ancient entity that had haunted the city's soul was gone, banished back to whatever darkness it had come from. Vera, battered but unbroken, breathed free. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, letting the wind ruffle his hair. He felt out of place in this new world, unsure of his role now that the fighting was done. He had spent so long as a weapon, a tool for survival, that the quiet felt unnatural. A familiar warmth pressed against his side. Lyra joined him, her presence electric even in stillness. She stood regal and fierce in a tailored cloak, her fur shifting from deep indigo to luminous gold in the sunlight. Her prehensile tail curled around Marcus's waist, anchoring him as if she could sense his uncertainty. She looked out over the city, her eyes sharp and proud. "It is different, isn't it?" she said softly. "The air tastes cleaner, the fear is thinner, but the wounds—" Her hand hovered near a jagged crack in the stone. "The wounds take longer to heal." Marcus nodded, voice rough. "You led them, Lyra. You rebuilt what the council tried to destroy." She snorted, baring her fangs in a wry smile. "Not alone. I had you. I had all of them. The clans, the outcasts, the Terrans. None of this would have happened if not for what we built together." He smiled back, but there was a shadow in his gaze. "And now? The council is gone. There's no throne, no dynasty. What comes next?" She turned to him, her gold-flecked eyes unwavering. "No more dynasties. No more rulers hoarding power. We forge a new order, a council of many voices, Soren and Terran, fighters and artisans. Every voice matters." "Will the clans accept it?" Marcus asked quietly. "The old wounds—" "They will have to," Lyra said, her voice steely. "Because the alternative is more blood, more suffering. We have a chance to be better than those who came before us. I will not waste it. Neither will you." Marcus searched her face, reading the determination there. He hesitated, the question that had haunted him for months trembling on his lips. "Lyra, when the fighting was all I knew, everything was simple. Now I don't know where I belong. I don't know if there's a place for me in this new world. With you." She regarded him for a long moment, then reached up, her clawed hand tracing the line of his jaw. "You belong wherever you choose, Marcus. You fought for this world. You bled for it. You love it, even if you don't want to admit it." He caught her hand, holding it against his cheek. "It's you I love. But what if the city sees only a Terran at your side? What if they never accept us, never accept me?" A mischievous glint danced in her eyes. "Let them see. Let them see that two souls from distant worlds found something worth defending." She stepped closer, her tail tightening around him. "Let them see a Soren heir and a Terran gladiator, warrior and outcast, choose each other, not because of politics, not because of tradition, but because we want to. Because we can." He laughed softly, breathless at the fierceness in her. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" She pressed her forehead to his, her eyes glimmering molten gold. "I am. Marry me, Marcus Dre. Share this burden. Share this joy. Stand with me, not as a symbol, but as yourself, as my mate, my equal, my heart." For a moment, words deserted him. The city below faded into a blur of light and motion, leaving only the two of them atop the world. "Lyra," he whispered, wonder in his voice. "Are you sure?" She grinned, fierce and radiant. "I have never been more certain of anything. Let them watch. Let them see that difference is not something to be feared, but something to be cherished." He pulled her into his arms, their hearts beating in time. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. Their kiss, above the city, was more than a promise. It was a declaration. The world seemed to hold its breath as they embraced, a Terran and a Soren, fighter and heir, choosing love and hope over blood and oppression. Far below, the people of Vera lifted their eyes to the highest tier of the arena. The rumor spread in a ripple of excitement and disbelief. The new council would be led by two souls from opposite worlds, united not by conquest, but by choice. As the sun climbed higher, bathing the city in promise, Marcus and Lyra stood together, hands entwined, faces alight with courage and anticipation. The struggles behind them had forged something unbreakable. Their journey, they knew, was just beginning. Together, they would build a future where unity was more than a dream, where love, born of rebellion, could finally lead the way. That's the end of the story. You can leave us a tip or become a channel member. This greatly helps our team improve the quality of our videos. You can send a tip using the Super Thanks button right below the video. We truly appreciate each and every one of you who has subscribed and supported us. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.